In this video, I'm going to talk about the creation and use of 2D arrays with objects. So if you recall what a 2D array is, it's a grid-like structure. It has rows and columns. So rows are the things that go left to right. Row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3. So there's a total of 4 rows, numbered 0 through 3. And then there are 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns that go up and down. And again, numbered 0 through 4 because of the numbering system. So this spot here is 0, 0. And we always refer to arrays with row column notation. So this spot here would be row 2. So read that first, row 2, column 3, not the other way around. So let's go ahead and create a program to do this. I'm going to use a simplified time class we created in class. That's going to consist of an hour and minute. I have a simple constructor here. Let me take out this thing here. We don't need this time thing here, AM, PM. Hour and minute, and we have a toString that's going to simply print out hours and minutes. So let me close that up there. And let's go to the 2D array driver here. So here's my basic structure. So when we create a 2D array, I'm going to have the word time here with 2 sets of brackets. The 2 sets of brackets represent 2D array. If I put a third set, I could create a 3D array and so forth. This is the name of the array, my times. And it's going to be a new 2D array. And like I showed in the picture there, 4 rows and 5 columns. Rows, columns. So that creates the array. So right now there's nothing in it, so we have to put some times in it. So typically we use this what they call a nested for loop. For int row equals 0. It's basically a for loop in a for loop. My times dot length and row plus plus 1, 2, 3. Put end outer for. I say outer because there's a for loop inside here that's the inner for loop. Column equal to 0. So this is the upper left hand corner. Column less than my times. Now this is interesting, the 0 thing. And we're going to say column plus plus 1, 2, 3. And inner for. So this is interesting because this 0 says when we are cycling through, and the way we cycle through is we cycle through like a book. Here's my picture here. So I start here and I visit each element left to right like I'm reading a book. This element, this element, this element, this element, this element. And I only want to go to the length of the 0th row. How long is the 0th row? Well, it's 5 elements long. So what this is saying here is go to the length of the 0th row, which is that first row. And actually, you could have put 1 and 2 and 3 because they're all the same length, but we typically use 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something in each element. My times row column, so the 0th box is going to have something. And I want to put in a new time element. New time. And our time, if you recall, took an hour and a minute. And what I'm going to use here for the time here is I'm going to say, I'm just going to use the row and column as the time. Row, column. So this is going to be the hours and the minutes. I could have done something like math.random, but something really quick and easy here. I'm just going to use the row and column as the hours and minutes. So this first element is going to have 0 hours and 0 minutes, and then so forth. So that's what I do there. And to print that out, I'm going to put a little message here. System.out.println inputting times into the 2D array. And then over here, I'm going to print it out. I'm going to actually copy this because it's very similar. I'll say printing. So now, inside the for loop, you'll notice here everything else is going to be the same. The only thing I'm going to change is inside the inner for loop. So I'm simply going to system.out.println my times row column. So I'm going to go to the row and column thing and print out what's there, and it's a time object. And if I try to print out a time object, I will basically be calling the toString method of that class. So let's close. Let's move this over here. Take a look at here, and compile this thing. Compile. Looks like I compile. And let's run it, see what happens. It's back over here. I'm going to run the 2D array, and we get, looks like something that we expected, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, but it's all printing linearly all the way down the screen. I was expecting something grid-like in the picture I showed in the beginning. So maybe we need to do some things here. We don't want to print a line after every single time. We only want to print it after the 0th row is done. So how can we remedy that? So if I go back in here, I don't want to print a line after each thing. Actually, in fact, I want to print a space or two. Print a couple of spaces there. I want to print a space, and then after I've printed out an entire column, so after this for loop right here, then I'll print a line. System.out.print line, and I'll print out a \n, which is a new line, or basically an enter, because that's the time I want to print a new line. So I'm going to not print a line after each time. I'm going to print the time with a couple spaces just so we get some separation. And then we're going to print a new line after that entire row, and then go to the next row. So let's try that. Compile, close, and there we go. So this is a 2D array, and you can see here, and this makes it nice and easy to read, this is a 0th row, 0th column. 0th row, first column, all the way across. And after we're done, then I have row 1, row 2, row 3 for a total of 4 rows, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So that's a nice little printout so you can see the actual numbers and the coordinates of each thing with the colon there, which is supposed to represent some kind of a time. So in review, to create a 2D array, we use 2 sets of brackets. In front of them we put what we want to be in the array, give it a name. We can specify the coordinates there, or excuse me, the dimensions. A nested for loop. A for loop inside the for loop is what we typically use to fill up the array. I just used a constructor with a row and column, and then I used the nested for loop again to print things out. So you can modify this, and I'll just, one more little thing here, I'll just maybe go to 9 by, let's say 9 by 2. Let's see what happens here. Now 9 by 2 does not break any code. If I change this 9 and 2, the length here, the printout and the assignments will be based on the lengths. So that should work. Let's try it. 9 rows, 2 columns. And let's print it, and let's see what happens. 9 rows, 2 columns. There you go. 0 through 9, 0 through 1 for the columns. So that's an example of creating a 2D array of objects.